Hey everybody, welcome in. It's Funhouse Friday, episode 8, and we are super excited about today's episode because we have a special guest with us for the very first time, Rod Ingle. Yay, we're so excited. Now, first off, if you have questions, if you have comments during this broadcast, please send those to us. We would love to answer those. If you're watching it later, go ahead and send those as well, and we'll answer those. But first and foremost, we're really excited to have Rodney with us today because Rodney has actually been a part of Funhouse since Ernie and I have been here, actually even before, and he's going to tell you about that. But Rodney is literally one of the most multifaceted, talented, creative people I have ever met in my life. I don't think there's anything he cannot do. So you are in for a real treat today to get to hear all about him and how he got started and what he does for us here at Funhouse, all about his engineering tasks and things. So please welcome Rodney Ingle.
Yes.
I have to write you a big check after that.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's probably, if I can just interject a couple things real quickly, it's probably a shorter list of what he doesn't do here than it is of what he does. We've been blessed to have Rodney as a part of our team, as Heather said, from the beginning, and even before, even when Funhouse initially started with another partner that I had, Buddy Hyatt, and his family were actually running. Rodney kind of came to us through that channel. But we want to talk a little bit about your background, your experience that led you to where you are today, and what's made you what you are today. And but we're just glad you took the time to come and be with us, and we want to share some of who you are with our audience out there.
Absolutely.
Well, I was born a poor white child.
No. Not that far. Not that far back.
Well, I guess I've always had an interest in music. My sister and I both. My dad sang. My grandmother sang. A lot of our aunts and everything. So there was always music in our family. So my sister pursued music as well. My sister actually sang opera in Germany for 14 years.
Oh, cool.
A professional opera singer.
Amazing.
And but both of us just we gravitated towards music, and I went to college. Didn't major in music, majored in broadcast comm. Was in television for 3 years, and music always still played a part. I was always still trying to find a way to interject music into whatever I was doing. Then I had an opportunity to move to New York to pursue music, which I did. That brought me full circle back to North Carolina, but to Nashville as well, because then I came to Nashville back in 95 was the first time that I came here and cut. And I was absolutely blown away. I walked into, and I'll make the story short, but I walked into a studio that's no longer here, but used to be close by. It was called Top Tracks. And presented my songs on cassette tape. I'm telling my age. On cassette tape to the producer, and he sat down and wrote some numbers on a sheet of paper and double checked them, handed them out to the guys and said, okay, let's go. And they put me in the booth and they counted it off, and it was like somebody dropped a quarter in a jukebox and there was your song. And I was floored at the amount of talent and how that was even possible, because when I was coming up, anytime you were with a band, you just practiced and practiced and practiced to get really good. And these guys, they just was like, okay, next. What's the next song? So that was my opening entrance into Nashville and the studio system here and how things worked. I was back and forth trying to find a foothold here in town because I knew this is where I wanted to be. And eventually I got that through some really good friends of mine, Sandy and Sherry Nichols, that opened up their home to me. I established a foothold here, began working any job I could at the time to stay here, and then some other opportunities came up. Some other opportunities came up that took me to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where I did a Broadway style musical show down there. Met a lot of really cool people. Met people like Jim Owens, Lorianne Crook, Charlie Chase, different ones like that. Flash forward to, we got a developmental artist deal with Warner Brothers. Came back to Nashville with that. That was right around 2000, and it was right around 2000 met Buddy Hyatt. Began going in and he invited me to actually track some stuff with him, and so we began working together in that capacity. Met a lot of the players. Started understanding how the Nashville studio experience works, began learning about the number system, began learning about what overdubs were. There's a protocol to how a session goes, you know, where the initial tracking, where everything lays down, and then the sweetening with overdubs and solos and that kind of thing. Met more and more people, great, just phenomenal musicians here. You can't throw a rock in this town and not hit somebody that just plays their hind end off. And so, but that segued into meeting Ernie Rowell back around, I guess, was it 2004, somewhere in that area?
Maybe a little before that, but right around that time.
And I was working here in this particular studio. Ernie owned the studio, owned the building at the time, and the guy that I was working with brought his gear in and stuff, and I worked with him. And then, as any business, you know, you grow, you increase your clientele, things. Everybody kind of goes different directions. Sometimes you don't go together. Sometimes you go separately. And then I began doing more freelance work, which included work with Ernie Rowell and with Heather. And it's just been a very cool upward climb from there. It's just like you always keep assimilating more information and more. I always call it adding more blades to your Swiss Army knife. Learning how to be a good Pro Tools engineer, how to be a good engineer, how to be a marketing person, and just all those things that come together that as you meet more and more people, and your clientele base expands. So,
well, as most people are understanding, sorry about that, live TV here. As people are understanding, you're a performer as well. You're also a great songwriter, a great singer, both as a soloist and as a background vocalist. He's one of the most called background vocalists in town, in addition to being a great engineer and songwriter and performer. Like we said earlier, he wears so many hats so well, it's amazing.
I'll write you a check too.
Well, it's just true, you know.
Right.
I would say this whether you were here or not, and we've already said a lot about you in the past.
I know people are probably like, oh, who is this Rod Ingle guy they talk about almost every week?
So he was definitely the one, you were definitely the one we needed to get in here first.
Yes.
But from your background and moving into more of behind the scenes stuff, as well as continuing on with the other stuff, what changes have you seen in the equipment and in the industry that would lead you to where we are? I mean, I know you know of a lot of things. Like you said, you started out with cassette tapes. I started out with cylinders back. Not that far back actually, but I remember wax records or vinyl and which has come back somewhat now, but we used reel tape for a long time to pitch songs. When I first moved to Nashville, and then we moved to cassettes, and then moved from that to CDs, and now
vinyl is making a comeback.
Yeah, it is making a comeback.
Yeah.
But anyway, what have you seen since you've been here as far as the technology side is concerned that has been such a great help?
Yeah, that's maybe made things better or easier.
Well, it's been amazing to see how much of it has changed. When I first came to town, I mean, I remember my first thing that we cut. It was on 2-inch tape, and I had the reel. As I began to do more engineering, there were a couple things that I did cut on tape, on 2-inch tape, and literally the edits back then. And I only had to do this just a very small number of times, and I'm glad, because it was nerve-wracking. But when they talk about cutting an edit, you literally take a razor blade and you cut the tape, and you got to get it right. And if you don't get it right, you've either destroyed what you've done, you've ruined it, and then you have to recut, or you just have to try to finagle and make it work. And it's an art form. It really, really is.
You remember the splicing blocks that we had. We had them 2 inches wide for the 2-inch tape, 1 inch for the 1 inch, ½ inch, and 1/4 inch. And you would lay that tape, you would actually sit there and move the tape back and forth on the heads until you knew exactly where you wanted to make the cut, or you hoped you knew, and then you stopped it and marked it with a little wax pencil right on the head, in the center of the head, and then pulled that tape out, put it in the splicing block, and then said several prayers, and it made the cut.
That would stress me out.
Well, it would. But great engineers learned how to do that and do it well. I was as I said before, I worked with Mel Tillis one time in his publishing company, and he would go in and do station liners and things like that, and then hand it to me to edit. And you wanted some of his stutter and whatnot to be in there for the natural feel of Mel Tillis, but there was often way too much, so I had to try to find a happy medium there. But it wasn't nearly as important as a master tape would be for some of these guys that had spliced. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I'm glad I didn't have to do too much of that, because it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, not too long after you got here that we moved into the digital recording.
Exactly.
And you told us a few minutes ago about the first machine you worked on. What was that again?
We had, but even before then, they had ADATs. Yeah. We went through the ADAT, the whole ADAT era, which I'm glad that we're not in anymore.
That's in the past.
But they served a good purpose, and that was a segue to what we call hard disk recording, which includes all kinds of stuff, which is Pro Tools and oh gosh, what's some of the other ones?
I can't think of them right now myself.
But I cut my teeth on a Roland 1680. It was a little standalone, and basically the basic elements of digital recording I learned there. And then when I came back to Nashville, I still did some recording on that, but then I had to borrow money from a friend of mine and purchased my first used Pro Tools rig and locked myself in the apartment for a week and destroyed a whole number of mixes that were in there learning. And I came out and I said, I'm a Pro Tools engineer, hire me. And I figured you fake it till you make it. I had a good knowledge base, but the rest of the stuff I would pick up as I went along. And I did, and I got to work with some really good people, and you pick up tips as you go, watching others. And but the technology today with Pro Tools is it's mind blowing. What you can do with audio. Pro Tools is the Photoshop equivalent to audio of what Photoshop is to video and to pictures and stuff. But you're only limited to your imagination of what you can do. Yeah. You can cut, you can make a song longer, make it shorter, change the tempo, change the pitch, change the effects on voices, or how you want a person to sound. Just again, the possibilities are endless, which is wonderful. It can be the kiss of death too, because if you have an imagination that runs wild, you'll never finish a song because you'll experiment with everything. But if you've got an idea and a concept, and lots of times people will come in and say, "Hey, I've got this idea for this song. I've got this kind of effect. I like what Bruno Mars had on his voice here. I like what Blink 182 did with their thing here. Can you emulate that? Can you come up with something that sounds similar to that?" And you can reference that, and there's a plugin for it that's a tool, and you can find it and make it sound exactly like the client or the artist wants it to sound. And that to me is the same equivalent of being an artist with a palette of paint, and you just find you're a work for hire. This person wants this painting this way, and it's like you're commissioned to make it that way.
Yeah.
And you just use those tools to form and make that picture. And it's even more fun when people come in without really having an idea of what they want their art to look like,
or not even knowing what's possible.
Exactly. They come in and they say, here's my song, or maybe just here's me singing into my iPhone. And then you get someone like Ernie that gets like that, and he sits down and literally can take something that literally is just an a cappella performance, but he can pull from that, hey, I think this is the structure of what the song is looking for, and to see the looks on their faces when they come in from hearing their little, hey, I just sung this into my phone and gave it to you, and then a band plays their song.
Yes.
It's amazing. And then to help them shape that into the piece of art that they want to present to the public via any Facebook or Reverb Nation or SoundCloud or anything like that.
Well, it's like Ernie and I were talking about a few weeks ago on an episode. It's magic.
It is magic.
It really is. When it all is said and done and it all comes together, it's magic. And it always makes me think about when you look back to the early days of recording and artists like Patsy Cline and Hank Williams and them, and the whole difference in technology. So when they were coming in, they literally just had to sing it until they got it right. Yeah. And if someone missed a note or they missed a note, they had to just redo the whole thing all over again till every musician, everybody got it right.
All live at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was back in the day when it was not unheard of at all. And I know probably George and some of those guys recorded that way too, where some of them would come in and there's a mic in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
And everybody would take off playing, and when someone had a solo, you stepped up closer to the mic so that you could be heard, and then when it was your time, you stepped back and the vocalist stepped up. And if anybody made a mistake, and if you listen to some of those old recordings, sometimes you may hear a mistake that they figured was passable.
Yeah.
You know, they just said, hey, it's part of the live performance, or like we call flying without a net. You know? So, but nowadays we separate every track. Well, you can do as much or as little as you want, but every instrument has its own little piece of real estate. The kick drum, the snare drum, right down the list. Each guitar part, the lead vocal, every harmony part has its own track. So you have individual control over every single piece, and it just it allows you to kind of micromanage the song, but it makes some of the incredible things that you... Perfect example, there's no way that Freddie Mercury would have been able to have done Bohemian Rhapsody without the whole advent of multi-tracking and being able to separate all that stuff, because the myriad of voices that he put on that recording, just, and it's an iconic, again, there was that picture that he had in his mind, and that's what they painted, and it's a historical iconic song to this day.
Exactly.
So.
Well, since we have a session up behind us, I trust that it's still there. Yes, it is. We thought it would be interesting for you just to kind of show the people, if we could, during this time, what a session looks like, because we all work with WAV files. I know you got Logic and New Wave and all kind of New Window. There's several different formats or ways to record these days. Probably the industry standard would be Pro Tools, I would think, and that's what we have here at Funhouse. And but all are working with WAV files, which that just means that whatever instrument plays, it creates in that format a WAV file for each particular instrument, and this is what it looks like behind us. Let's turn and look if we can.
And for those who aren't audiophiles, when he says WAV file, all that is just it's just the surname of the type of file it is. It's just like a Word document or a JPEG file or a PDF file. These are referred to. They come in all forms. You've got WAV files, AIF files. Back in the day, it was SD2 files, but WAV files are the kind of the standard WAV files and MP3s now. So, but let me slide back over here a little bit. Turn.
Yeah, I'll give you a little room too. But
and there we go. But this is step back so you can kind of see. This is just a session that we had pulled up. This happens to be one of my favorite artists, Miss Holly Norman, and this was one of her songs, Moody Blue, from her Taking Care of Bluegrass album. And as you can see, I'll scroll up to the top here. This little guy, and I'll try to zoom in a little so you can see. If you notice, it looks like little just tick marks. Heartbeats. That is what we call the click track, or what some musicians call the enemy. And but for today's type of cutting and what we do in a digital world, a digital format, it's a necessity. And these guys in town are just masters at. They almost wouldn't need a click track to play in time. They're so good. But a click track keeps everybody honest. And it's a metronome.
Right on a beat. In other words, it never wavers.
Never wavers.
So there's no up and down tempo. It's all one speed, and it's perfect. And these guys, like Rodney said, are able to play with the click track without even worrying about it at all. It just comes natural to them now.
And as in the course of a session, the click track is fed to everyone. It's fed a little bit louder to the drummer, because the drummer he's the engine of the of the song. So he's keeping tempo. Everybody else has that reference as well, so they can all keep in tempo, which makes it nice if you want to edit the song. Let's say that she got to the end and she wanted to do another chorus at the end. It makes it really easy to just go and hit where the downbeat is, and the downbeat is, copy and paste, and there you have another chorus. And but each one of these tracks like I said, it has its own little real estate strip here. This is the bass, the upright bass, and it had 2 tracks because we had 2 microphones on it. So each one had its own mic.
It's the same bass, but it's just 2 different sounds on the microphones to cover the spectrum that we wanted to get for that particular instrument.
You usually have one that's a little lower that gets the big body of an upright bass, and then you have another one lots of times that's up higher towards the neck, so you can get the ticky-tacky sound, the punch from the strings. Got another track here. This is the banjo. This is the mandolin track, the fiddle track. These are, again, a stereo mic'd acoustic, the first acoustic, and then down here we have a second acoustic. And then here we have the little solo break that is played there on the...
Just in the one spot.
Yeah. And each one of these, you might notice that, like when I click here, just that part lights up. It's because we have little, what we call edit points, which means that maybe he wanted to punch in and change his ending. He wasn't happy with it. So when we finish the recording, we'll like go back. He said, hey, let me grab that ending one more time. And we'll just punch him in, and you can usually see a little division of where that is. We scroll down a little bit further. We see, this was Holly's comp track. Comp is short for compilation. And that's just the way that people actually cut their vocals nowadays. They will sing multiple passes of the song
all the way through
from front to back, and then you will sit down and you'll listen to maybe 2 lines at a time, and you'll listen to the delivery, the character in the voice, the intonation in the voice, the pitch, all that stuff, and you'll take whichever is the best in that particular line of takes. That becomes, okay, this is the best first and second line. So we fly that up, and it becomes a piece of the multicolored line that you see up there. And basically, you build a perfect bionic track. And it's all the vocal that the artist has done. So it's not like tricks. It's just that every time that you sing a song through, you never sing it exactly the same way every time. And because you can't think that much all the time. But as you go back through, you may have one particular performance like, I really like what I did, and I didn't do that anywhere else but there. That becomes part of the track. You've got people like, oh gosh, I can't think of her name. Oh yeah, like Christina Aguilera and other artists like that. They will take sometimes 32 takes of a vocal and then create this bionic, incredible track with all the best ideas that they possibly came up with in all those takes. And then the artists generally, after they put the compilation together, they'll learn the song that way, because now they're thinking, oh, this is the best of everything that I've done, and that's how they'll learn to do the song.
A whole lot more budget than most of us have.
Exactly. Yeah, we generally don't do 32 tracks of vocals here.
But it's possible.
Yes.
Unlimited amount of tracks in Pro Tools.
Yes.
You can build and build and build, and you have to sometimes know when to stop.
Exactly. That's what I was saying, is that it can run, if you don't have the vision already kind of put together, it can run away with you. And 2 weeks later, you're still.
Sometimes it's way too much if you just keep going and keep going.
And like any computer, one of the beautiful things about this, which was unlike back in the day when we were actually cutting tape, physically cutting tape, we have the beautiful phrase called undo.
Yeah.
So if there's ever something that you record and you accidentally record over something else, or the punch isn't exactly right, where you're punching in on like a solo or something, you can always undo, or you can actually take and undo just a piece of it. Like I said, it's just infinite what you can do edit-wise. So here we have the consolidation of these tracks in her vocal track here. And here we have our background vocal tracks. Generally we do, depends upon the application. Some songs like this one is a simple one, so we did, I believe Ernie sang on this one, it's a simple 1 over and 1 under as far as what the pitch choices were. There are other times that we do layering or stacking, which you may take the same part and do the same part twice and pan it left and right in the stereo field, and then you'll sing your next part and do it twice identically, and it makes for a lot of the real thick full sounds. Like a lot of the stuff you heard, like that you've heard with Chicago and other super groups like that, with the big, thick vocal sounds in the back. A lot of that is stacked vocal.
Yeah, multiple stacks.
Multiple stacks.
And you, that's one thing about Rodney that I think is very unique too. If we may segue a little bit into the background vocal work that you do. I know as I came to doing background vocals myself, I had kind of a style that I had always worked with and I felt comfortable in. And you've certainly pushed me into a different place with the ideas that you have. And I mean, you just brought me there because you challenged me to do things that I wasn't really comfortable with. And but you seem to have an almost open palette for being able to envision what a song needs, and where I might just put 2 parts on it, like this song is right here. You would be doing other things, and not necessarily this song, because we hopefully conferred on this and kind of agreed this is what we wanted to do. But you seem to have that really great understanding of knowing when a song needs something more. And folks, he can take just him, one person, singing multiple tracks can sound like a whole
chorus
group
of singers.
Yeah, a whole chorus of singers. And I've learned to do some of that myself. I'm not nearly as good at it as Rodney is, but it amazes me how he envisions what a song can be with background vocals added. And they are such a big part of the recording process that he becomes even a greater asset, not only what he can do behind the board, but what he can do in the vocal booth, singing and envisioning and doing those vocals. So how do you approach that? What gives you that?
Back here, so I'm not.
What gives you that?
We've got a lot of interest about this.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe you could play? I mean, do you have it set up where you could play maybe like a lead and then just show how you add each? Like, can you do that?
Oh yeah.
We can back show them.
So let's see if I think we've got just a little clip, a little volume here.
A ball of twine on a spool that never ends. Just when you think you know her well, her emotions reveal she's not the person that you thought you knew.
So we've got, like, here's her lead vocal right here, and we have, if we were to pull that out, we'd just have her by herself.
Just when you think you know her
so there's no backgrounds. And then
you add one part.
Add one part in, which was as he was recording.
Just when you think you know her well, her emotions reveal.
So he adds that part, and then here's the next part.
Just when you think you know her well,
the tenor part.
her emotions reveal she's not the.
So each one is just like, and you can keep adding and keep layering and keep layering. Generally, musically speaking, and I'll try not to get too technical here, but generally speaking, a chord is comprised of 3 tones. There's the root, a third, and a fifth. So you got like ba would be the starting note, and then the harmony of the third, ba ba would be the next note, and the fifth would be ba. So that would be ba ba ba. There's your chord. So now the cool thing about that is that if you've got, let's say that this is your lead note, you have the option of singing a note a third below and a third above, or you can sing a note a fifth below and a third, or you can sing a third above and a third above. So it depends on, and those are called inversions, as to where you would like to put your harmony. And again, it's a taste thing. And sometimes the clients will come in and you'll sing something and they'll go, oh, no, that's too high, or that sounds too brittle, or that sound, or if it's all in the bottom end, they'll say, oh, that's a little too dark. Can we split the difference? Ernie's really great at that. Ernie has sung, like I said, harmonies for years, and he's got a great feel for it. And I will say that I give thanks to the good Lord above. Harmony is a gift.
It really is.
I never ever truly realized the lessons I was getting as a kid when I used to write. My sister and I rode around with my grandmother, and she would take us to school, and she would sing gospel hymns, and we'd be going on the way to school, and she would say, okay, I'm going to sing lead on this song, and Rodney, you sing tenor, Rhonda, you sing alto.
Yep.
And so we would take off doing that, and so we would sing a verse of the song, and then we would get to the next verse. She said, okay, now I want you to switch with Rhonda, and then we'd sing another verse. Okay, now I want you to take the lead. And for us, it was a game.
Yeah.
I never thought two things about it, and I honestly I thought everybody sang harmony. I thought everybody's family sang, but I had no idea the schooling that I was getting at a young age and how that would come into play later in life.
Yeah, because it becomes more of just a natural thing
becomes a
to
reflex.
hear those parts.
Yes.
Yeah. And I did that's interesting. You and I had never spoken about this, but my sister and I used to do the same thing. Well, I had an Aunt Annie Lou, and she would sit down at the piano and make us do that very thing. And we would sing songs like Moonlight Bay and old standards like that. We were sailing along on Moonlight Bay, and then Patsy, just like you said, Patsy would sing one part, and then we would swap. I never knew what we were doing. It was just fun sitting around the piano with my aunt or our aunt, but it certainly set up.
It was a training session.
It set me up for understanding what harmonies are and how it just becomes second nature almost to do it. The thing that Rodney's so good at is oohs and ahs and adding those things which you have to then add a root part as well as the third and fifth. And you can see right here, just next to where we were, there are three parts there because I did some oohs and ahs or whatever on that song. I can't remember. And there are three parts there. And then if you want that to be fuller, we would stack those, do the same exact thing on three more tracks. So that's the way the recording process works with vocals. And Rodney's so good at it, he's made me step out of my comfort zone into the oohs and ahs. You got to trust it and just go with it. You got to act it and believe it. And he's made me a better background vocalist as a result of that. So
well, and you learn too that there are times that somebody, I forget who it was. I think it was Brett. Brett made an interesting inference one time about that. There's a difference between singing harmonies and singing harmony.
Yeah.
That a lot of people can sing harmonies and the parts are right, but harmony, like singular, sounds like, and that's what we all aspire to, especially with doing production, is to make it to where it sounds almost like it's one voice. I've always approached background harmonies like.
Why I keep doing that? Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm trying to look at the comments and I keep hitting the thing.
I've always tried to approach harmonies or harmony like a keyboard part or like another instrumental part in the. It's a pad. It's an effect.
Right.
Where it's not that you necessarily. That it stands out or that you so much notice it, but you would notice if it were not there.
Right. Well, for that matter, you could take a song and sing harmony the whole way through, from start to finish, both parts, and do oohs and ahs or whatever, but that's not what it's about. It's about the innate idea or innate understanding of where does it fit best? Where does it lift the song and take it to a new place? Typically that can be the last line of a verse or part of the chorus, typically the first part of the chorus, where you want that song to really lift up. But it's not always that way. It can be in other places, and then there are some songs that harmony just doesn't work on at all.
Yep.
Or if anything, maybe a one-line harmony, just the third above. So it's a real, I guess, touchy,
very subjective.
Very subjective thing that the artist on what they really want and want to hear in their music, and that's what we try our best to do here at Funhouse in every phase of the recording part is to make sure we understand what you as an artist want, offer our suggestions, and come to a point of agreement where that's what we're going for, and we go in there and get it done. And again, we're surrounded with such talented people here. From the musicians to the great equipment that we have to work with, and then somebody like Rodney Ingle who knows how to tweak it all and bring it all into focus. In addition to being that background singer and able to record those tracks, he can sit down behind this board and mix your material, then master it if you're going to radio with it, so that it sounds its best possible in that marketplace. So that's what we're all about. And any questions that we've had today that we want to...
Just tons of comments. Everybody loving this, loving the information, think it's really interesting. And it is. And, you know, that's the great thing about, I think, this whole, like, setup and the whole digital and Pro Tools is the flexibility and opportunity it gives you as an artist or as a songwriter. Because you can lay down the individual tracks and you can go back and, you know, double up fiddle and make it sound like twin fiddles. You can go back and, you know, add several different parts for the guitar if it's a really guitar-heavy song and that's what you're looking for. You know, Rodney can put the background vocals on there and stack them 3 or 4 times and let you listen to that and then take one off if you only wanted 2 parts. So the flexibility and the opportunity, you know, with this, and then having an engineer like Rodney that really knows and understands the equipment and the program and is so fast and efficient, and the music
that goes into it, because there are a lot of technical guys out there that are really good with the machines and all that, but they don't have the musical ability that goes along with it. So that's where this guy comes in as being an ace for us.
And I think that's one of the things we're most proud of here at Funhouse is the experience and the knowledge with Ernie and Rodney and the other people that we have, you know, musician-wise and everything, the experience and the knowledge that they can bring to you. I mean, you just heard Rodney's background and his story and history, so this is, you know, something he's been immersed in for a long time, and he's seen all the different, you know, changes and things happening in the music industry. But yeah, the musicality that he brings and lends is priceless.
Yeah. Well, there's a love of music too. I mean, and I know that that's why we've all been involved in this. But the palette is huge. You know, people assume that we're in Nashville. They assume that you guys do a lot of country. Yeah, we do country. We've done
anything.
We've done jazz. We've done big band. We've done spoken word. We've done R&B. There's been techno. we had. Oh, let me speak about this too. We had. Just recently, as well, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a group through, was it Zed Media? Was it Zed? Is that the right word? Zed or Zed?
Palmer Global.
Palmer Global.
Yeah.
But we had a crew of people from the UK.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
And if anybody's watching, I miss you guys. That was so much fun. But we had so many people. We had people from Ireland, we had people from Scotland, we had people from different areas within the United Kingdom. The cream of their crop, they literally were state sponsored to come here and take part in this. And we were one of the satellite studios that were others as well, where they rotated in and out for that whole week doing stuff. Every conceivable type of song. I mean, it just depended. You never knew what. It was a grab bag that day as to what would come in. And I heard so many hits of just all styles, stuff that could be on any, you could tune into any mainstream XM station and you could have heard one of those songs and it completely just fit in the flow of things.
What they did, just a quick, a little more defining there, they came in, they were paired with Nashville writers, and they would write from 9 until 12 or so, and then at 1 o'clock they went to the different studios and recorded what they wrote that morning. Now, you know, yeah, that would probably intimidate a lot of people, but these guys
running gun.
I mean, they were under the gun, but they delivered. It was amazing what they came up with, and but they were pros. They were all pros, and they were mixed and matched with pros here in Nashville, and it surely did show. And we were really blessed to be a part of that. Thanks, Alan Palmer, for including us, and thank all you guys from the UK that came in here because you really impressed a lot of folks in Nashville with your talents. And certainly us. And
I think a good way that might be good to end this, because we've got a ton of viewers. We've just got a really good response. I think they'd really like to see, is there any way, putting you on the spot, that you could do, like, literally build the track with the, like, maybe start with my vocal, add the guitar, add the whatever, to where you go from, like, a start vocal to a full band? Like, can you just click them on and add it, or is that?
Yeah. I think I could I'll mute everything and I'll just like kick or whatever. Well, actually, there's no, because this is a bluegrass, there's no drums in bluegrass historically, so there's no drum sectional on this. Otherwise, you would have like a kick, a snare, a hi-hat, tom number 1, tom number 2, tom number 3, overhead mics, room mics, you know, that build a drum sound. That's not going to be on this one. This will be a little bit more truncated version, but it starts with the I'll let you hear what the click track sounds like. as annoying as it is.
And the click track, for those of you who are wondering, well, what's a click track? Well, what that really is a metronome.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's like a metronome. It clicks perfect time. It's inside Pro Tools that, and you can get other click tracks, and I think they even have choices, many different choices inside the Pro Tools program itself. But you figure out which one that the musicians are more comfortable, whether it's playing quarter notes, half notes, or eighth notes, or 16th notes. It can be any number of those one of those combinations.
So this is what. That's a click track. That's
just quarter notes.
It's just in quarter notes, and it's just keeping
you
time.
You can speed it up or slow it down. That sets the tempo of your song.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we actually, without going too deep and getting too terribly technical, you've got your options where you pull up. This breaks down a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that's going on in Pro Tools while everything is running. It shows you what time signature you're in, which is 4/4 time. And right here is where you can set your tempo to quarter notes. It's 124 beats per minute. Again, getting kind of technical, but that's what you kind of come up with all of that information at the beginning. That's what Ernie, as he's producing something and puts the charts together, you come up with the feel, the tempo, the key, all that stuff, instrumentation, who's going to play, and the structure. And then he relays that to me, and then as he's going over stuff with the guys, I'm kind of lining this up so that when they walk in, we're ready to hit red and put the rubber to the road.
That means record.
Yes.
Hit red.
So that's the click track, and let's see, I believe, I'm just going to, because I haven't looked at these in a while. Yeah, so like, this was the count off for the band. Oh, let me turn it up so you can hear it.
2, 1,
2, 3, 4, boom, and the band starts to play. So there's always someone counting it off so the band knows where to come in. And then let's go down to, so here's the bass line. Actually, I'll put just the count in and you can hear the bass line, the bass come in.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So there's your bass line. And then, as you wanted to add your banjo in, and then you have a rhythm mandolin track. And if you notice, I've got the banjo more to the right in this speaker, and I've got the mandolin over here, because what that does is that it kind of separates them frequency-wise and gives them their own real estate to live in, so everybody's not fighting for the center spot. Because actually, that's Holly's spot in the center as the lead vocal. So let's add in our first acoustic. So there's the acoustic. And we'll add in another acoustic. That one's on this side. And we have a fiddle player as well. And I'll go ahead and jump on up ahead here, coming up to our little solo.
Okay, one of them.
Yeah. That's Cody.
Monday comes, she's Tuesday. When Tuesday comes, she's Wednesday. Into another day again. Her personality unwinds just like a ball of twine on a spool that never
Background
ends.
vocals.
Just when you think you know her well, her emotions reveal she's not the person that you thought you knew. She's a complicated lady, so color your baby in moody blue. He says moody blue, tell me am I getting through? I keep hanging on, trying to learn the song.
delay and that kind of thing to help dress things up, to put it kind of like you would listen to it as if it were in a concert hall with a little bit of echo off the walls and that kind of thing. It gives ambiance to the recording. And there you go.
Perfect.
Super cool. Love it. But as you can see, this is going to give you so much opportunity. So, you know, when it gets to the mixing and the mastering part of it, you know, and the artist comes in, they can look at Rodney and say, you know, hey, I really love still guitar, so turn that still up, you know, right here. Or I really want, you know, a little more fiddle here. So you can do all that. You know, you can put cool effects on it. Like there was a song we did one time that you put like a echo effect on the end that was super cool. It made it really neat.
Yeah, we just found out that Cody Kilby is actually watching our Facebook Live.
Cody Kilby.
What a great musician and contributor to Holly's work. We are blessed with wonderful players in town, and Cody's definitely one of them. Thank you for watching, Cody, and thank you for what you do, man.
Yeah. But as you can see, you know, again, if you're an artist or a songwriter and you're trying to navigate this crazy world of music in Nashville, it means
a lot of moving parts.
Yes, and it means so much to get with the right people and get with the people that are going to take the time and the effort to make your song come to life and make it the best, and that have the knowledge and experience. You know, like Ernie was saying earlier, and we were actually talking to a client earlier this week, and he was saying, you know, we have done things in the past at other studios with other engineers and things, and they were great, and we were happy with it after all was said and done, but it just took a whole lot more to get it where we wanted and get what we wanted, because they didn't necessarily have the musicality and the ear and the background and experience that people like Ernie and Rodney do. And that, it makes such a huge difference.
Well, we've all been... I have been, when I first came to town, I got taken advantage of just a little bit, you know, because again, you come in, you're green, you don't know. We've all walked down that road, and one of the things that I love about this place and all these guys is that, and I've tried to surround myself with as much of this in my life at this point as I can, people with high levels of integrity, honesty, and passion for what they do.
Yes.
Because if my name is going to be on anything that comes out of this place or any other place that I happen to work on, it has to be 110%.
Right.
Because you get one chance at a first impression. And not only that, but people who come here to work, they're like, wow, what a great experience. Yes. And then they share that with their friends, and then someone else says, well, I'd like to cut an album. Maybe I need to go and talk to them about what that entails.
Right.
And
that's what it's about. We take pride in what we do. You know, of course we all have to make money.
Yeah.
We have to make money to live, and we want to make money. But at the end of the day, it's about, our name on something that we're proud of, that you're proud of, that we want to be the best that it can be.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. And we're here for you people out there. We thank you so much for tuning in again today. Thanks to Rodney Ingle for coming in and sharing his talent with us to tell you people a little bit more about what he does behind the scenes here at Funhouse. Do let us know how your projects are coming, or how your idea, whatever your ideas are,
how we can help. Give you information, knowledge.
And it certainly doesn't cost anything to do that, and we'll be glad to try to steer you in the right direction to help you. Demo sessions, we do demo of single songs for people who maybe even want to just send it in and let us do it for you if you entrust us with it.
Next time.
And we'll talk more about that in the future. But we offer full service recording here, and we do our best to please people and make sure that we come up to what our expectations of ourselves are pretty high. So we want to maintain.
We only hire the best, and we only work with the best. That's Ernie's big thing is I never hire question marks. You know, if we don't know that they can do the job, then we're not going to hire them. So.
And that doesn't mean that people can't get in. It's just a matter of musicians that come in. We want to make sure we're hiring the best people for you and people we know that can do the job. But thank you very much for tuning in.
We will not be here next week because, of course, it's Thanksgiving. So we will be taking off next Friday.
To everyone.
Yes, everybody have a blessed, safe, and happy Thanksgiving. But we will be back the following week with episode 9. But real quickly, Tyler, Carrie, JD Marie, Teresa wanted you to say hello to her from Texas.
Hey, Teresa.
Janet, Reva, goodness, so many people commenting and watching. Junior, Wendy, Linda Gale Summers, Ella May Kay, Suzette. Hey, Suzette. She's recorded a lot with us. But thank you all so much for tuning in and watching, for the great feedback and comments. We really do appreciate it. And again, keep those comments and questions coming.
Share with your friends.
Yeah, please. Share this video. Share it. Thank you.
I don't know how to do it, but y'all do it.
Have a great day. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.